Welcome to Car Free in Tennessee. This is Jonathan. What is the best Class 3 cargo e-bike out there? There are so many options, and it's difficult to find all of these bikes in stock at local bike shops for you to test ride. So I've done a bunch of research and I've compiled it for you here. I think the most important thing to consider when you're looking at e-cargo bikes is your most common use case. If you are in the market for a cargo bike, then obviously you want to carry cargo. But what specific items do you picture yourself carrying? How often? How far? How is your local terrain? What's your budget? Warning, some of these bikes can get really expensive. Here's my use case. I live on a farm in rural Tennessee. I need to regularly haul livestock feed, hay, groceries, milk and egg deliveries, a backpack, and a small child, but usually not all at the same time. The terrain here is very hilly. Some of the roads are in poor condition, and I often need to travel moderately long distances, maybe 20 miles or so. So I know that I'm asking a lot from a cargo bike to be able to handle all of these things. And if you're wondering why you're watching a video of goats, there's no reason at all. It's just goats. In this list, I've identified 7 different Class 3 cargo e-bikes that are available in North America. If you know of any other models that I'm missing, please let me know in the comments. Just to be clear, I don't have any sort of relationship with any of the manufacturers of these bikes, and I'm not receiving any compensation for my reviews. At the time of recording this video, I have exactly 1 subscriber on YouTube, so I cannot imagine that any company would consider my channel a useful platform for a promotion. It's really frustrating to watch YouTube reviews of e-bikes because so many of them seem like undisclosed promotional videos. Hopefully, this video will be a stunning success and I'll gain millions of followers overnight, and then e-bike companies will just start sending me tons of free e-bikes to review. That would be amazing. But until then, let's go ahead and take a look at these bikes. So a quick reminder or an introduction for anybody who is not familiar with the different classes of e-bikes. Class 1 is pedal assist only up to 20 miles an hour. Class 2 is pedal assist and throttle up to 20 miles an hour. And Class 3 can have pedal assist up to 28 miles an hour. And Class 3 may or may not have a throttle. There's some controversy around Class 3 e-bikes in terms of their regulation and their legality, and there are some people who are concerned about 28 miles an hour being too fast, especially on shared pathways like greenways where people are running and rollerblading and walking and things like that. And I understand that. For myself, I am primarily riding my bicycle on roads that do not have a bike lane. I'm just riding with traffic. And so for me, being able to go 28 miles an hour is really useful so that I can stay with the flow of traffic in town, or at least stay closer to the flow of traffic. So for me, having the ability to have pedal assist up to 28 miles an hour, I think is a huge asset. So the first bike on the list is the KBO Ranger. All of these statistics that you see here on the left, all of these numbers are the claims made by the company. These are not necessarily numbers that I've been able to verify. So the KBO Ranger claims to have a battery range of 60 miles. I assume this is with the lowest level of motor assist. Claims to have a load capacity of 400 pounds, 750 watts for the electric motor. The bike itself weighs 77 pounds. Usually companies don't lie on the weight. That's a pretty easy one to verify. And I gave this just an absolutely terrible perceived quality rating. This is just a metric that I came up with by myself by reading reviews from people. And I saw multiple people who tried out the KBO Ranger and just had tons of issues with it right out of the box. And so maybe 1 out of 10 is too harsh, but I personally would not want to spend $1,600 on a bike that is likely to fall apart pretty quickly. So this was a dishonorable mention. This is not one that I personally would seriously consider, but it does technically meet the criteria of being a Class 3 cargo e-bike. So our first serious option is the Lectric XPedition. Claimed range of 150 miles, which is just incredible. I have seen verifications of this that it's not quite 150 miles, but it is still more than 100 miles with the double battery. Claims to have a load capacity of 450 pounds and 750 watt or 85 newton meters of torque in the motor. It weighs 75 pounds, so it's a little bit heavy, and I gave it a perceived quality of 3 out of 10. So I have been able to personally test ride this bike, and overall, my conclusion was that it does work. It's a real bike. It is fairly fast. I do get the sense that it can really carry a lot of cargo because this rear rack, this long tail rack, is really strong. And just looking at it, you can tell that this is a really robust rear rack. Now, aside from that, the handling, in my opinion, wasn't great. It wasn't particularly comfortable. I wasn't impressed with the brakes. The cadence sensor was a little bit jumpy. And overall, it just had a general sense of not being a particularly high quality bike. So I gave it a pretty low perceived quality rating because I know people who have this and who have had issues with these different parts. But $16.99 for a bike in this class is a really compelling price point. And for all of these bicycles, just so you know, I've included a price with seating because I want to be able to carry a passenger on the back of my bike. So I'm always considering what is the cost with the accessories to have, a seat and foot supports for my passenger to be on the back. Next up is the Specialized Globe Haul. So Specialized is a fairly well-known brand in bicycles outside of e-bikes. The Globe Haul claims to have a range of 60 miles, a load capacity of 419 pounds, a motor with 700 watts or 90 newton meters of torque, weighs 78 pounds, and I gave it a perceived quality of 6.5 out of 10. Maybe that's a little bit harsh. I was able to test ride the Specialized Globe Haul, and holy cow, this bike is really fast. I don't think I've ridden any other e-bike that is so fast. And even though all of them have the same top speed of 28 miles an hour, some of them take a while to get up to that speed, and the Specialized Globe Haul really wanted to go beyond that. And you could tell that the only reason it didn't go faster than that is because of that speed limit. So if going fast is a priority to you, I think that the Specialized Globe Haul is an awesome choice. It's $2,800 or $2,885 with the seating package. Next up is the Remy Demi. I was able to test ride this bicycle at REI. Has a range of 70 miles, can carry 380 pounds. The motor is 250 watts and 65 newton meters of torque, weighs 65 pounds. My perception of its quality was 6 out of 10. I thought that the ride on this bike was just a little odd. I'm having a hard time describing it, but overall I wasn't really impressed with its power. It has the Bosch motor and battery, which are considered to be very reliable. It was very smooth, it was comfortable, but it struggled to get up past 23 or 24 miles an hour even on fairly flat ground. So for me, I personally wasn't very compelled by this bike just because of the low power in its motor, and it's $3,278, so we're getting up into a little bit higher price points. Our next bicycle is the Tern Quick Haul with a range of 62 miles, load capacity of 331. I'm actually not sure if this wattage is right, but I do believe it's 65 newton meters of torque. The weight is only 50.7 pounds, and out of all of the bikes on this list, that is by and far the lightest bike. And I am really impressed with the Tern Quick Haul just because of the engineering. Being able to be in this class with that long cargo tail and still only weigh 50.7 pounds. Tern is a very well-respected brand in the world of e-bikes generally, and I wasn't able to test ride this bike when I was going through this list at first, but we'll talk more about the Tern Quick Haul later. This bike is $32.99. Next up is the Tern HSD, which is kind of just the deluxe version of the Tern Quick Haul in a lot of ways. So it has a higher range, 74 miles, a higher load capacity, 374 pounds, a more powerful motor, 80 newton meters of torque, only weighs 6 pounds more, so still pretty light for this list, and it's a Tern, so it's high quality. But it's almost $1,000 more than the Quick Haul, so you're really paying for all of those extra features. The last bike on this list is the Momentum Pack Yak. And I forgot to mention, I have test ridden the Tern HSD, and it was phenomenal. It was comfortable, it was quick, it handled well. I think that if you're willing to spend that amount of money, that it's certainly worth it. And it has a 10-year warranty on the frame and fork, and I think that the Bosch motor system also has a pretty good warranty and service deal with it. So back to the Momentum Pack Yak. The Pack Yak has a range of 60 miles, or if you purchase an additional battery, it can have a range of 120 miles, load capacity 360 pounds, 80 newton meters of torque, weighs 84 pounds, so really on the heavy side, and perceived quality of 7 out of 10. That wasn't really based on anything because I wasn't able to ride it, and I only saw a small number of reviews for it. At $48.99, this is, for me personally, well above what I'm willing to spend on a bicycle at this point. And if you want that extra battery to get to 120 miles of range, it's an extra $1,000. So if you're willing to spend this much money and you can find one of these to test ride, I assume that it's a nice bike, but it's pretty expensive. Last but not least, we have an honorable mention. The Aventon Abound has a range of 60 miles, load capacity of 440 pounds, which is pretty good, 80 newton meters of torque, 81 pounds, so it's heavy, perceived quality 5.5 out of 10. Aventon is kind of in this middle range of brands from what I've been able to gather, but at a price of $21.99, that's a pretty good value. This is an honorable mention because it's only class 2. It can only go up to 20 miles an hour. And there are several other bikes that I could have included in this list, but I was able to test ride the Aventon, and I was really impressed with it. It was very comfortable. It has front suspension. Most of the bikes on this list do not have front suspension, and the seat was comfortable. It has a very long tail. It says that long cargo rack is only rated for 143 pounds, but I personally would probably feel comfortable putting more weight on there just for what I'm using it for. The Aventons all have nice LCD screens, and overall I was just impressed with it. So that's why I included it here, even though it's not technically class 3. So here's a recap of the prices and the ranges and the overall load capacities for these different bikes that I looked at. But I know that you want to hear my opinions. You don't just want to see what the numbers are. So based on my experience with the test rides and looking at these numbers, I was really torn between the Specialized Globe Haul and the Tern Quick Haul. So I went a little bit deeper into the numbers, and now I'm going to run you through my more detailed comparison of these two. I really like to look at numbers. I really like to make spreadsheets to help quantify the decisions that I make. So what we've got here in column B are all of the numbers for the Tern Quick Haul, and then in column C, I've taken all of these numbers for the Quick Haul and converted them onto a scale of 1 to 10. So this is not incredibly mathematical because I don't have a really strong basis or a consistent equation that I used. This was just going on vibes, but I have to turn it into a value on a scale of 1 to 10 so that I can then weight it and then compare to determine which bike wins for each category. So I've got the Tern quick haul numbers in B, and then the 1 to 10 scores for the quick haul in C. I've got the numbers for the specialized globe haul in D, and then the 1 to 10 scores for the globe haul in column E here. So we've got base price, we've got the price plus the accessories that I would be buying. We've got the bottom range for the battery, which means if you are using the maximum pedal assist, how far is the bike going to be able to go? Conversely, we have the top range, which is if you use the lowest level of pedal assist, how far is the bike going to be able to go? We've got the gross vehicle weight rating, which really is saying the bike weight, the rider weight, and then the potential cargo weight that the bike can handle. You've got the rear rack capacity, the torque in Newton meters, the weight of the bike, and then the gearing. So you have the number of rear gears and then the range of teeth for the smallest and largest gears. And maybe you don't think that this is important, but in my experience test riding and just from riding non-electric bikes, you really notice your gearing ratios when you're trying to go up a really steep hill or when you're trying to go down a hill and you're trying to go as fast as you can. Those are the times where you really notice the range for the gearing here. So having a slightly wider range is in favor of the globe haul here, and I probably should have been given an extra point there. So then I go through all of these factors and I weight them. So I determine on a scale of 0 to 1, how important is the base price, how important is the range, the cargo capacity, and so forth. And by taking these scores that have been converted from on a scale of 1 to 10 and then multiplying it by the weight, I get the weighted score. So you can see I multiplied column C row 2 by the weight here in column F row 2, and I get this weighted score. So for base and accessory price, the globe haul wins because it's cheaper. For range, the quick haul wins on the lower end because it has a value, and then they both have the same upper range, so that's a tie. The globe haul claims to have overall more capacity, but it has less rear rack capacity, and what this really comes down to is volume, because the things that I want to haul are large bags of livestock feed and hay bales, and so if you're only getting groceries and you only have one small child, then you probably would be fine with the specialized globe haul. But for what I'm carrying, the length of the rear rack and the overall volume of things I can carry, the quick haul is better. On torque, the globe haul is clearly superior, and on weight, the quick haul is clearly superior. And then on gearing, I said they were the same, but the globe haul really is better. So overall, even though the globe haul won on 4 categories and the quick haul only won on 3 categories, overall, with the weighting of those categories, the quick haul wins. And so based on this analysis, I decided to purchase the quick haul, and I will give a detailed review of my experience with the quick haul in a future video. Thanks for watching.